everyone. Just like to make you aware that we are being recorded, and this is the April 25th meeting of our Executive Committee, Community Board 2. My name is Leonard Jordan, and I'm the Vice Chair of Community Board 2. I'll be standing in for Mr. Singletary, who won't be with us tonight. We have Ms. Barbara Zellagranga, who's our other Vice Chair of Community Board 2, and also Ms. Jessica Thurston, who is our Secretary. So thank you all for being here. If everybody has a copy of the agenda, can I get a motion to accept the agenda?
Motion to accept.
Bill Flanoy.
Okay, Ms. Fibush and Ms. Fibush and Mr. Flanoy. Okay, and all in favor? All right, is anybody opposed? I should ask that. Okay, and no abstentions? Very good. All right, has anybody got a chance to take a look at the minutes from March 2022? Are there any changes or deletions or additions to the minutes? Okay, hearing none, I will take it as a unanimous acceptance of the minutes for March 2022, unless anybody's in objection to that. Okay, very good. We don't need an open session for public comment, I don't believe, because we don't have any agenda items. We will go straight to committees to report. Oh, one thing I just wanted to, I did mention that Mr. Singletary won't be with us tonight. Okay. First one would be Economic Development and Employment Committee, Mr. Bill Flanoy.
Thank you, Chair Chair Jordan. Sorry, sir. Okay, my co-chair is Denise Peterson, and my secretary, she's not here right now, but I just want to go over the details. At the board meeting, I wasn't clear about what we had as far as presentation on the cannabis industry that was coming up, and there was a little confusion. So I'll try to make it brief and concise. The cannabis industry is going to be $1 billion industry. They're going to start licensing come fall. There are many licenses. There are vertical licenses and horizontal licenses. You have the medical side and you have the public side. The issue is this, okay? We are still talking about the upzoning that we'd had no say in 2003. We're trying to correct that upzoning. The cannabis industry is gaining momentum. It's $1 billion industry. And what they're talking about right now is they want the community boards to be involved in the licensing and the approvals. There's also the issue of safety, okay, as far as what we're looking at as far as individuals, because this is a cash business and they have cash on hand and they cannot use the banks because of federal laws. And in addition to this, they're also talking about edibles to the point of they want to have people basically serve pizza with cannabis infusion. So they want to treat cannabis just like they treat alcohol. So you have to be 21 to be able to purchase and use cannabis. But if they're going to start infusing it in food that everyone can eat, it will be a problem to actually the regulations involved. In addition to this, they're also talking about tobacco shops selling cannabis and also food chains selling cannabis. We have an opportunity to actually have some input in this before the legislation passes. And that's the point I was trying to make to transportation, to public safety, and also to HES. Because this is our opportunity to say it now. If we wait till after the legislation passes, once again, we'll be trying to correct something that we didn't have a chance to have input in, just like we did with the upzoning in downtown Brooklyn. And that was the message I was trying to pass to everyone here.
Well,
that's my report, sir.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Flanoy. Well, I did mention this to Chair Singletary, and I think we're in the process of reaching out to our elected officials also, because I'm sure they're involved in that. It was just a state thing, so it would be a state assembly and state senator. Certainly so that, we can get more dialogue and more discussion about it. So thank you for, bringing this up, and especially all the issues that surround this particular thing. Actually, so I've seen it. We've seen the Jersey start, and I'm sure they're having a lot of issues also. So we might be able to get some learned experience also from what they go through too. But thank you for your report. But certainly that's on the radar, and I did mention it to Chair Secretary. Does anybody else have any comments about that or questions from Mr. Flanoy?
I just wanted to inform Bill, Gina Belafonte of the New York Times does a weekly in the column in the metropolitan section. I think 1 or 2 Sundays ago, she did a whole thing about what the mayor's trying to do with getting people to go into the central business districts again, into their offices. And she points out in the article the growth of businesses in Fort Greene and in downtown, small businesses. So I just wanted to bring that to Bill's attention. You might want to look it up. It's a very interesting essay.
Yes,
I just
Mr.
wanted,
Gordon, I'm seeing this right now. This momentum is building. I'm getting a lot of people calling me up and asking me questions about this because they knew I had that meeting for 2 hours. And I'm getting a lot of people reaching out to me and asking about the regulations, about the licensing and everything else. So this is picking momentum, and it will continue to pick up momentum. And we need to be a part of this.
yeah, I wanted to
Ms.
ask
Delagrange?
you, thank you, Mr. Jordan. Mr. Flanoy, you mentioned there are 9 types of licenses. Will all of those come before the community board?
What they're talking about, and this is the thing that's very interesting, they want to treat it just like a liquor license.
Right.
Okay, so when a smoke shop or whoever wants to get a license, and there's several different types of licenses, just like there are several different types of liquor licenses.
Liquor licenses, right.
So what they're going to be doing is coming to the community board, and we have to basically approve whether or not they can get that liquor license. Sorry, that cannabis
Cannabis
license.
license. Okay. And do you know if there'll be anything like, you can't have a cannabis store within X number of feet of a school?
This is an issue that they're talking about also, but they have mentioned it. It's not in the legislation yet, but they are talking about how you cannot have it within a school, within a certain distance of a school, so forth and so on.
Right.
But these are issues that they're currently hammering out.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I'd just like to interject. So what Mr. Flanoy is saying that the legislation hasn't passed yet, so there's a lot of stuff that's in play. We just don't know how it's going to end up, but that we want to get make sure that we get a chance to comment on what's going on before it's actually solidified in law. So okay, thank you very much, Mr. Flanoy. Next is me, Finance and Personnel Committee. We will be having our meeting on April 28th. I can tell you this much: we will be approving a budget that we will present to the general body in May. We still haven't received anything from OMB, but we do have a budget that we actually discussed, expenditures and things of that nature. So we will be presenting that to the, after we vote on it ourselves, we're going to present it to the general body at the May meeting. And that's about it. We haven't met since then. Next, the Health, Environment and Social Services Committee, Mr. Brandon Smith.
Good evening, everybody. Happy almost end of April. We had a really dynamic meeting on April 6th where we had 2 presentations, but really just want to start with the COVID presentation because our committee member, Miss Emily Anadu, has really taken the COVID presentations up to another level with a very detailed description and PowerPoint deck, really laying out where we sit on a monthly basis with COVID. And while it may not be the popular narrative to spin, the narrative that we had, which are the facts, is that the city's going in the wrong direction. We have increasing cases, increasing positivity rates. Deaths are going down, so that's good. Hospitalization rates are not as high as they've been historically, but key neighborhoods have been increasing in rates. And it's a reminder to everyone that COVID-19 is not gone. Vaccines are still important. The same stuff that we've learned throughout the entire pandemic are still important, and we need to be reminded that we can't just treat it like this virus has gone away, because it's still here, and the statistics show that. So that was a very good presentation, very timely, and something that we're going to continue to do on a monthly basis in the HES committee until we get to a point where the virus really is gone, which we all hope for. Aside from that, we did have two very good presentations at our committee meeting. First, Mr. Chaim Gross from Heat, Cool, Smart Brooklyn presented about his NYC 2030 district initiative, but this very specific initiative, Heat, Cool, Smart Brooklyn, is a way to really sort of connect with communities and facilitate clean heat and cooling installations in different homes and buildings throughout the district. And they have a website, heybrooklyn.org, that has 20 different webinars on it. And they're working with various groups to promote building envelope energy efficiency, cold climate air source heat pumps, and basically just more efficient ways to deal with the traditional boiler. There are incentives from Con Ed, which we discussed, and we had a robust Q&A with Mr. Gross about that, and really a good presentation, and something much in line with our theme for the year, which was addressing climate change, which is likely to go well beyond this year, I will admit. Next, we had a presentation from Miss Delisha Marshall and her colleagues on behalf of Gotham Health Cumberland, where they talked about the services that are provided at their location. It's part of New York City Health and Hospitals, and they have 6 diagnostic and treatment centers. They talked about all the different ranges of their services. We talked a bit about maternal care with them, and they indicated that they would be interested in helping out with our upcoming health fair later in the year. We had 7 liquor licenses, which I won't repeat because we discussed that all at the general board meeting. And then after all the committee business, we discussed in more detail our health fair and formally agreed through the consensus of our committee that we would plan the health fair for June 25th. This is a Saturday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Commodore Barry Park. And we've gone through largely Luttrell, who's been the leader and really a wonderful member of the board, and somebody that I would personally aspire to the level of commitment and dedication she has to community, has been leading this effort to contact all these different community organizations, help us partner. We got the permit application filed, and we learned there's actually another health fair going on in the same park by the Friends of Commodore Barry Park, but we had a great conversation with them, and we're going to work with them and really like partner in a collaborative community like manner, and it should be a really wonderful event. We're going to partner with Brooklyn Hospital first and foremost, and we have other community collaborators. I won't list them all, but library has agreed to come out and be a supportive sponsor. And it's going to be a wonderful event. So there'll be more to come in that. We'll be developing a flyer. We'll be, appreciate anybody's interest and help. The focus is on health, and there'll be a bunch of events, and there will be a panel discussion there about general healthy living techniques, but there'll be a focus of that on maternal health. That's all I've got for my report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Smith. Any questions for Mr. Smith? Any board members? Okay. All right, thank you so much. Land Use Committee, Mr. Gordon, Mr. Carlton Gordon.
Okay, thank you very much, Lanny. Okay, First, I'll just acknowledge my co-chair, Daughtry Christophans, with us tonight. How you doing, Daughtry? Okay. We should report on our other co-chair, Irene Jenner. Irene has not been physically well lately, and she has requested or has submitted her retirement, we'll put it this way. She calls it her retirement from all community board 2 work. She has put in, many of you know, for decades and decades of work on the board. So she's, from what I understand, is holding up. I've communicated with her a little bit, and she's hoping to get well as soon as she can. But at this point, Irene Jenner is now retiring from all community board activity, and I thought people should know that. The Landmark Land Use Committee will be meeting this coming Wednesday. You're all welcome to Zoom on in if you wish. We have 6 Landmark Preservation Commission certificates of appropriateness applications around Brooklyn Heights and Fort Greene and even Fulton Ferry. So we have a few, hopefully we'll be able to dispose of them without too much drama. And that's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. Any questions for Mr. Gordon? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Parks and Recreation, Ms. Barbara Zellagranger.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan. And good evening, everyone. I noticed my co-chair, Andrew Lastawecki, is here. So thank you, Andrew, for being here. Also, a thank you to Sabrina Rezi for being our secretary for this month's meeting. I did report on the meeting at the April general meeting. We had a presentation from NYC Runs about the Brooklyn Marathon and Half Marathon. And I'm delighted to report that the marathon and half marathon took place yesterday, disrupting traffic all over Brooklyn for a good portion of the day. But I think the runners were delighted, and we were told there were at least 20,000 people registered to participate, and I have every reason to believe that it was a big success. Our next meeting is on May 16th. So that's my report for today. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you so much. Any questions for Ms. Barbara Zellagranger? Okay, hearing none. Transportation and Public Safety, Mr. Meyer, Mr. Sid Meyer.
Good evening. I ran our last meeting from Poland. I was in Poland. I thought that made me unique. It was a lively meeting. We had the Department of Transportation there, and they made a presentation on open streets. I'm at least pleased to announce that they're going to continue to, or at least ask the board our opinion on open streets, which they may or may not have during the last round. They think they have. I don't think they did. And I can tell you that our chairman doesn't think so either. We had a lively presentation. They talked about what we were doing. It's interesting that we actually had a person show up from CB1 to complain that they're not getting any response from the Department of Transportation. They made a complete presentation of what the DOT is doing with open streets. They're saying the program is open again, and they've asked our comments, and we are going to continue to give them comments on open streets. The committee is quite interested in this. There are issues that the community and the DOT seems to be at odds with. Now, like anything with DOT, we will only be advisory. So they can, and they have in the previously, but not come to us. They've not listened to what we've had to say, and they created problems for themselves that I think could have been avoided if they had a decent dialogue with us. You know, they have been picking groups within the community, which they're allowed to do under the law, to have relationships with, and without them bringing those to the board for a much more I think, a complete understanding of what it's going to do for a particular neighborhood. I think they've created a problem for themselves that they don't need, and I've sent that directly to the commissioner. These are the ones you can see. These are the ones where there are applications now. There are a number which are schools which are just closed for the day. As you know, Willoughby Avenue, excuse me, I do that occasionally. Willoughby Avenue is the one that's the 24-hour, 7-day-a-week one. It's one of 3 of those in the city. We have been asking them to reconsider what they've been doing, and whether they will or not, we'll have to wait and see. They're in the middle of completing a survey. We have been pushing for people to complete that survey. I think they have to the end of the month. If any of you are interested, I'm sure Taya can put out where the survey is so it could be complete. And we raised with issues with the PS Area 3 came in and made a presentation. We discussed some of the other issues concerning police and safety and some other issues as well. And as I said, I had better connectivity from Poland than some people did locally. So it worked out very well. I'll be happy to answer any questions, or if I can. Yes, Barbara.
It's my understanding that Clark Street Station is reopening this week. Did they talk at all about that?
No.
Mr. Flanoy? Mr. Flanoy, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I did. Sorry about that. Mr. Meyer, just out of curiosity, with open streets, what are our options? I mean, basically they've opened and they're going forward.
Well, it's passed by the city council. I mean, this is now city law, so it's not the option. Well, there is no option. We have to live with the open streets. We at least are now getting the ability to comment and make suggestions to them, which they didn't do before. This is, John Doe objects to the fact that it's not democratically being done. Well, the city council passes. That's about as democratic as you get. So I don't understand that complaint. At least they're coming to us now. Whether they listen or not at the end, I can't tell you. All right. But they have been coming. They've been at least receptive. People are complaining that they weren't listening. They've agreed to listen now. What they will do with it, I have no idea.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Fibers, did you have a question?
Mr. Carton Gordon.
Okay, Mr. Gordon. Mr. Gordon.
Well, not so much a question for Sid. I understand that Councilmember Hudson is doing her own survey or census on the open streets, and I don't know if that is so, and maybe you want to also consult with her staff to see what results they have.
Well, we've been contacted. I was at the presentation that when Councilman Crystal made her presentation. This survey that's being done now is being done by DOT under DOT supervision. There was one done by her that was limited. This one now is much more extensive. They sent people on site. I went on site. Some of the pictures that I took when I went on site are in the letter that we sent to the Brooklyn Borough Commissioner. I mean, they're at least listening. Whether they will listen at the end, I just can't tell you. I just don't know.
Nice.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Meyer? All right, thank you very much, Mr. Meyer. Next is Youth Education and Cultural Affairs, Ms. Betty Freibush.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you. I want to acknowledge my co-chair, Dorothy Thompson Manning. I believe she's on the call. I already reported out about our March meeting. At our April full board meeting, the Citizens Committee for Children reported on their huge amount of data and how they can help us in understanding how the city's children are doing and how the children in our community are doing according to many factors. And we'll be studying this and using this information in our statement of district needs requests. I also want to mention and really encourage everyone to attend our May meeting. Our youth council will report, as you all voted on and are aware of. We have 4 very energized, lively, wonderful young people on our committee. And they will be reporting to our committee in May. And they're looking at issues such as homelessness, youth voice in public schools, NYCHA housing, and so on. So we're really looking forward to hearing from our young people. Thank you.
Excuse me, Betty. Taya says they're gonna report in June. I don't know if it's the same thing.
I believe they're going to report in June to the full board, but as members of our committee, we hope that they
That'll be
report to
May.
our committee. Yeah, that's my
Okay.
understanding.
Okay,
So we will hear a report one way or another, absolutely. And they're very energetic. They're really like delving into some of the issues that we've been talking about and advocating, through new eyes and young eyes. So we're excited to hear.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Fibus. Any questions for Ms. Fibus? Okay, thank you so much for your report. I just want to, I guess going to the chairperson's report, I really don't have anything that Mr. Singletary wanted to pass on. I just want to mention also, that the chairs of your various committees, that you should be, I think every January, I think that's what Taya had mentioned to me, that we have to report on the attendance of our committee members. Now, you may have committee members that are not attending meetings. I think they have to attend 60% of the, at least 60% of the meetings in order to be a viable member of the committee. So I just want to pass that on to you because that will be coming up. But if there are situations where people are not attending meetings, this is the time to probably address it and find out whatever reason that is.
Who do
So,
we write to? Do we write to Taya? I mean, we know the information, so who do we communicate this with?
I believe Mr. Singletary would be
Okay.
the proper one to send it to. All right, and then we'll go from there. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. The other thing is, as most of you know, we had another meeting on April 19th in order to select our district manager. March 24th, we had one meeting before. We did not have a majority vote. On April 19th, we did not have quorum. All right, we have 46 members of the community board, and I think only 24 showed up this last time. So Mr. Singletary had
22.
22. I'm sorry. Thank you, Ms. Fibers. So, and the Finance and Personnel Committee was there in full force to manage this whole, operation, signing in people and everything else. So we only had 22 people that showed up, and out of 46, I mean, the request was for everyone to come. And our bylaws state that in order to select the district manager, we have to have a quorum, which is half plus one. However, we expected to get a lot more than that. We thought it was a very important thing, and certainly it's critical to the operations of the community board. So Mr. Singletary we're going to have another in-person meeting. He hasn't made the date yet, but we're going to request and try to get the word out to everybody, all board members. Please make that meeting because it's going to be absolutely critical so that we can move on. We have a number of other positions to fill also. So we want to get the district manager solid first. So I just wanted to say that, and it's just part of my report, I guess. Other committee business. Now, oh, first of all, I
Excuse
wanna
me,
thank-
Mr. Jordan, this is Ms.
Yes.
Thompson Manning. I want to
Yes.
ask a question about the, our trying so hard to get a district manager. Unfortunately, I had a commitment, a standing third Tuesday commitment, so I couldn't come. The time
Right.
before that, I was not feeling well, but if
Mhm.
we had a quorum the first time, why wasn't it assured that everyone voted?
Well, we had
How did that
everybody,
happen?
yeah, everybody voted, but we had an abstention. All right, so we couldn't get the majority. All right, and the abstention
what it
doesn't count
was?
towards the vote. Yeah,
Okay. All right, thank you.
you're welcome.
In other words, it was very close and you have
I
to have
understand, Betty.
one plus.
I
yeah.
understand. You said abstention. I
Okay.
understand.
Okay. And I just want to thank Taya Mueller for the yeoman's work, person's work that she's been doing. And thank you so much, Taya, for all your hard work. And Taya, when I was asking for other committee business, I think Taya has something that she wants to share with us.
Oh, yes, I didn't realize we were there already. Thank you,
Yeah.
Mr. Jordan. 1 second. So, would not normally bring this up except that Mr. Smith and is anyone else and Ms. Thurston are aware that there is an item of some time sensitivity. So I will try to summarize this the best I can. The SLA laws have been shifted, amended, revised, and updated at a shocking tempo over the last 12 months. Some of our own long-term SLA lawyers have gotten confused about some of the details. Some of our city council members, especially the ones with brand new staff, have gotten confused about some details. It is no surprise that many of our applicants are completely lost as well. A frequent occurrence is that just to bring this back to basics, if you want a liquor license of any sort, you have to submit your application first to your local municipality, which in New York City is your local community board. You have to wait a minimum of 30 days between mailing a hard copy to your community board before you can submit your full application to the state level. Within those 30 days, the community board is supposed to respond to acknowledge receipt of the 30-day notice. It's not an application because they don't apply to us, right? It's just an acknowledgement of a 30-day notice, and then we schedule them. Now, the community board review typically does happen before the state review because the SLA, as it says on their own website, is so backed up at this point from COVID that they're taking 22 to 26 weeks to process all applications, right? Yes, wow. So we are very rarely the bottleneck. A situation that has been happening is that the timing is tricky, right? So an applicant knows that they want to apply for a liquor license and they know they're not going to get it for 22 to 26 weeks, right? So they have to time when are they going to apply for that license relative to when is their business going to be the busiest? When is it seasonally advantageous to have outdoor seats, etc. So we've had in the last, when did I start doing SLA? Maybe in February. We've had at least 6 applicants that did this weird thing. They submitted the 30-day notice to us, and then the SLA also imposes, it has to be, you have to wait at least 30 days, but no longer than 270 days, right? So that's that window of time. So we've had about 6 applicants that have submitted to us, been reviewed by us, been recommended by us, and then waited longer than 270 days to submit their full application to the state level, which means that they have to start all over again, right? Some of the applicants have chosen to take the most expeditious path, which is to simply come before us and repeat their review. And in fact, some of those have been so seamless that hopefully Mr. Smith and Ms. Thurston, you may not have even noticed that they were appearing before us a second time, right? Because it's been a year. Some of them have struggled a little bit and wanted a waiver. We do not currently have a title at the office. So the state, the SLA, the State Liquor Authority, does accept staff level waivers just as LPC accepts staff level waivers, right? We don't currently have a title in our office, the district manager, which is authorized to provide those waivers. So all of that to say, we currently have 2 applicants that are a little bit stuck, and they're running up against a real time crunch because spring busy season is upon us and they want to get their license. In both of those cases, the committee and the board both approved their application unanimously with no comment, right? I cannot offer a waiver, but what I would like to ask the executive committee is for a process permission. The office is allowed to submit memos to the state liquor authority, which are copied to the board chair, right? So it's not a memo from me, it's a memo to the SLA copied to the board chair. And basically the spirit of the letter is, we have already reviewed these applicants. We have no issue with their application. Their application, even though it is, 9 to 12 months later, has not materially changed in any way that would make us change our mind about them. And so therefore, we don't have any further comments to add to their new application. I believe this may require a vote of the executive committee, or it's a process. I'm asking you for permission for a process change. So how would you like to handle that? And are there any questions?
Yeah, we definitely have. All right, so I'll just take questions or comments from the floor first, and then I have a comment also.
Okay.
Does anybody have any? All right, Barbara, and then Sid.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan. Maybe I wasn't paying attention enough, but what I was trying to understand what this waiver is. It's so that we don't have to reconsider it. Is that what the waiver is about?
So community board district managers are allowed to issue a waiver of review to the state liquor authority if for some reason in their judgment and their tenured history with the district, they believe that it is such an obvious application that it may not need to go through the whole 2-month process with us. A good example of this recently might have been, if you're familiar with the DeKalb Market Hall, the food court in the basement of City Point, right?
Yes.
A district manager would probably recommend that all applicants from that particular address receive a staff level waiver because they're subject to so many rules from their landlord that would be so much more restrictive than anything that the committee would even be authorized to suggest, right? Another one might be, I believe the last one to actually receive a waiver from our office was Barclays, because, and it was, applicants do have to submit to the community board. Actually, we have one coming up, Mr. Smith, where if they add an additional bar in their retail space, for example, that's called an alteration. That has to go to the community board. The last waiver we issued was an alteration waiver for Barclays Center. So that's
it's basically what I said, really, that so we don't have to look at it again in this case.
Yes.
And all right, so, and you want approval for the community board in the absence of a district manager to send a memo, in essence, granting that waiver.
Yes, I would like permission on behalf of the board office and copied to board chair Singletary, as we would with the LPC memos, for example. Just in essence, nothing has changed. The board's opinion has not changed. We still recommend this applicant.
Right. Have you had an opportunity to discuss this with the board chair?
Okay.
No, not yet.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but thanks, Barbara. Sid, and then Ms. Thompson Manning.
You know, I like to make this simple. Whoever is the assistant assigned by the board chair to handle liquor licenses, we should give the delegated authority to sign the waivers upon the approval of the board chair. Nice and simple, nice and straightforward. Still, if the board chair approves it, subject, but whoever the assistant, whoever the this, the assist, whatever they're called, whatever the assistant is assigned to the people who does liquor licenses, and that's the committee that should be able to, upon approval of the board chair, sign the waiver, period. It's nice and simple.
That's more authority that I was asking for, and I don't know if I would recommend that.
Well, why?
Okay.
The board chair should be able to take care of stuff like that.
Excuse
Okay,
me,
yeah.
I just wanted to make a
Let's
comment.
go to Ms. Thompson Manning.
Yes,
Okay.
I believe, and I just want to make sure that I'm looking at this correctly. The problem has occurred because we don't have a district manager. Is
Right.
that really what it's about?
Yes.
Okay, so because we don't have a district manager who would ordinarily be the one that could waive it, we have to come up with something so that we can give someone else the authority to move forward.
Yes, and just to be clear, that is a big responsibility, because essentially the district manager has the same authority or validity as the full committee. So I would be careful about assigning that responsibility to any title in the office. I'm specifically asking for permission to send a board memo on behalf of just this type of client, of which right now we have 2.
Okay,
That's it.
thank you.
Okay, any other, did somebody else have their hand up? Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Gelbs, I'm sorry about that.
Okay, Taya, you said there are only 2,
Yes.
and I kind of agree with Dorothea. I think Lenny should look at these 2. And then you can say going forward, if there are more, we can come up with something else. But in the meanwhile, spring is we're gonna go into the summer months and these restaurants are waiting. So why don't we just approach Lenny right now and have him approve these 2? And then hopefully there are no others, and we would have a district manager by the time you have the next meeting. The next full board meeting.
That sounds great to me.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Gelbs, Ms. Thurston, and then Mr. Flournoy. You're muted, Jessica.
Sorry about that. I'd like to make a motion to provide permission for the process change, in my words noted above, as I've written down what Taya requested, specific to these applications in question.
Seconded.
Thank you.
Yeah, can we qualify that a little bit more, Jessica?
You may propose a friendly amendment.
Okay, thank you. As long as the committee and full board approves it.
They have
It
previously.
has been.
Yeah, previous, but I want to make sure that's also included.
I'm
fact,
actually
one of
gonna say
one
no
of
to
them-
that friendly amendment, just because that's already stated. It would just be duplicative.
Okay, just want to make sure that that's
Totally.
understood.
Totally.
For
Okay,
what
what was
it's
your
worth, one of
comment,
them has
Jill?
actually been fully approved twice. I don't know why they don't just submit their application already.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so, Mr. Flournoy, you had your hand up? You wanted to say something?
Oh, no, that was it. I was actually
Okay.
going to make the
Beat you to the
motion
punch.
myself, but Ms. Thurston beat me to it.
Well, okay, well, I guess I have it, since Mr. Singletary has not commented on this, or has not been aware of it, because Mr. Singletary, as the chairperson, can do this in the place of the chair. I don't think it would be a problem. I think somebody had mentioned that before. First of all, he's made aware of the situation, and then also that he would do this waiver for the time being, and then, he will decide at that point what process he would like to, how he would like to work it, and then present it to us. If in fact that we don't have a district manager, by that time. That's just my 2 cents on it. Mr. Smith, and okay, there's a motion on the floor and it's been seconded. Is that correct?
Yeah, all this is noted as discussion under the motion.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right,
Excuse
Mr.
me,
Smith?
I didn't hear a second.
Mr. Meyer
Flournoy.
seconded the motion.
Oh,
Okay.
Okay, I thought it was Mr. Flournoy, okay. That's right, he did. I'm sorry, thank you. Mr. Smith?
Yes, just filling in the blanks, the the licenses at issue here were ones that didn't have any issue and were largely there really is no reason to be concerned about approving them since they've been through the process at least a couple of times. Elsa's own particularly meets that criteria. I've been through this process with the waivers a number of times before with both Rob and Carol Ann, and whatever it takes to get these applicants to the point where they need to be, given that we've already been through the process in the committee, I think is probably a good thing.
Thank you.
Okay,
And
thank
just
you,
to be
Ms.
clear,
Smith.
the memo would go straight to, it has to be signed by the board chair.
All right, Ms. Delagrange?
Could we just hear the proposal again, the motion?
Yes,
Ms.
so the
Thurston?
motion is to provide permission for the process change noted above for the specific applications. Noted above is the office can submit memos to the SLA, copying the board chair, stating that we have already reviewed and approved the applicants and that the applications have not changed in any material way. So we have no further comments to add to those applications.
So then this memo is actually signed by the community board or signed by Taya?
No,
I don't
That's a
know.
good
Taya, who is it?
yeah, that's a good
Okay,
clarification. So
one second. Okay, all right.
I'm happy to do it either way. When we send our memos of resolution to the LPC or to the BSA, it's a memo from me to my peer at that city agency with board chair Lenny copied on it.
Okay, that sounds fine. If that's
And
what this
that means
motion
it's
is
really
about.
fast because then nobody else
Right.
has to, right?
Right.
All right. Anybody else, any other comments? I have another one. Okay, I just don't understand why we can't get Mr. Singletary to do it. Mr. Singletary has done other things that the district manager is responsible to do. Taya, he signs the payroll, all right?
Yes.
He's not really, the district manager would normally do that, but Mr. Singletary does it. So if that's the case, why can't he just do this? And we don't have to establish a process until we get a district manager in place.
did you ask him to do it?
Well, he hasn't been aware of it. That's what I'm saying.
Well, shouldn't it
Yeah, I
have maybe
understand.
been brought to his attention first?
Well, that's what I'm saying, Ms.
But
Manning.
you
It
brought it
has-
to us first.
No, I did not bring it to you first. It has been brought to Mr. Singletary's attention. I cannot speak
Okay.
for him. He does typically defer to the committee's wishes.
Okay,
I will say that being able to send a memo on behalf of the office is the fastest way to get a memo sent. And for what it's worth, any memo that comes out of the office, no matter whose signature is on it, is typically written by me anyway.
no, that wasn't my point. My point was with Mr. Jordan saying that it should come from Lenny. So I'm saying, so why are you bringing it to us? Why didn't you go to Lenny first? And then we wouldn't have to go through this. That was just my general question.
Yeah, my
Not
request.
doubting the process or anything like that.
I hear you, Dorothea. He is aware of this request and I would have addressed it to him directly, but he just happens to not be here this evening.
Okay.
Can I call the question, please? Mr. Jordan?
I guess so. I
Yes.
guess so, since there's no other comments. I've said what I had to say about it. So all in favor of that? All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm sorry. 1,
Seven.
2, 3. Well, yeah, what is it, Jessica?
It's 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right? I think.
Okay, they're all chairs. All right. And I'm opposed.
Cool.
Any opposition? Anyone opposed? And any abstentions? Okay. Now, So. from
Mr.
what-
Jordan, I'm sorry,
so
I have more committee business.
Oh, no, no,
But
I
that
just
was the
wanna get some
longest one.
clarification on this one. I
Okay.
was going to get some clarification on this one. So you're going to write the letter out and copy Mr. Singletary without him knowing about it? Or what? Or are you going to tell
so-
him first before you do this?
Mr. Singletary is already aware of the situation for both of these applicants. He has received a multiple paragraph letter detailing the previous 2 years of history on both of these applications.
Okay,
The process that I will follow will be exactly the same as I do currently with the LPC memos of resolution. It is a memo from me to my counterpart at Landmarks, and the board chair is actually the board chair, the city council member, and the applicant are copied on the memo.
all right. What I'm just asking is, are you going to tell him that you're doing this
Yes, of course.
before you send it out? That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Okay, I voted and it passed. So the process is in place.
Thank you. I appreciate
All
this committee's, and just to be very clear, the interest is for the applicant to smooth, I want to honor the spirit of the HES committee's approval of their application and help them to expedite their business. That was the intention.
Mhm.
And I think I speak to Mr. Singletary probably more than anyone else on this board. So please rest assured he will know every step of the way. I have 2 additional items. I apologize. They're very, very short
Sure.
though. Okay.
Sure.
And they do not require a vote. One of them is, I just would like the chairs to be aware of this schedule, which I know that Rob and Carol Ann and I have all tried to present in various formats. It's a very complicated process, so let's just look just at EB and E. May is
You know,
already done.
I tell you, I'm sorry. I don't know about anybody else, but this is very, very small.
Oh, okay. If that's not any better, that's cool. I can just talk about it. So
Well,
basically,
that's a little, I could see that. I don't know about
So-
anybody else. Does anybody see it? Everybody see it? Okay.
Another process which is a little bit encumbered by the lack of a district manager is the statement of district needs and budget requests, which is typically one of the larger projects led by the district manager. I want to be sure that whatever happens in the future, that the committees are set up for that process. The statement of district needs is always due. Oh, I'm sorry. It's always due around Halloween, right? And it is unfortunate, many of the districts have appealed to OMB previously. This timeline does not work well for community boards, which are on recess in July and August. It seems to fall on deaf ears. So essentially, in May, the committees should be drafting their first requests, keeping in mind that the full board is only allowed to submit 20 capital requests and 40 expense requests total. So May should be the time for drafting the committee's initial requests. May should be or June should be the period for finalizing the committee's requests. The summer months, in an ideal world, if we were fully staffed, would be when the staff could engage with fellows and grad students to really go deep on research. This year, I think that research is just going to have to be spread out among the board members, because then in September, when we reconvene, we really only have that 1 month, that first 5 weeks of September into October, for the full board to coalesce on what their final statements of need and their final budget requests are. The board vote would happen, I think, October 10th, something like that. And then the board office would have about 2 weeks to finalize what ends up being, on average, a 75 to 80 page document, which is submitted to OMB at the end of October. Somebody will lead that process. There's another title in the bylaws that indicates that there's also a finance manager that is often involved in this. I don't know if you've ever had one, but if you have looked at that part of the bylaws, I recommend it. The final thing, maybe this is a little more fun. This has come up in the past and it certainly cannot be voted on today, but I did have a chance to revise it. So on the left side, you see the current monthly schedule, right? So this is the first week of the month, the second week of the month, the third week of the month, and the fourth week of the month. As we all know, this schedule doesn't particularly serve our needs, and it certainly doesn't serve the needs of the city agencies that we liaise with very well. The number one most obvious way in which that's true is, look at this. Our general meeting happens before the land use meeting every month, right? So that means that our land use applicants are often waiting a full month, sometimes more, for their applications to be ratified. Now that changed. It was improved slightly during COVID because the board apparently is still operating where executive committee can approve, can ratify all applications, right? So they've been approved in this committee. The recommendation is on the right. There's a couple of things for this. If you notice, Brandon, actually, you raised a really good point. So what happens if the first day of the month is not on a Monday where everything's nice and tidy, right? So you'll notice that in this new version, even if, like, let's say the first day of the month is a Thursday here. So that means that Hess, the first Wednesday of the month, would actually be here, not here, right? However, these three committees, Hess, Transportation, and Land Use, are the three that typically produce the most actions. Even if this is offset by a week, Hess and Land Use would still get approved at general. Can you see that? And that's really it. And according to the bylaws, the executive committee meeting is supposed to be 10 days prior to the general to allow for this kind of more strategic discussion to happen during executive committee. So stacking them on the same day of the week, having them both on Thursdays, ensures that spacing across the month. I recommend no meetings on Mondays because there are so many city holidays on Mondays, and because on the days when we have applications due on Tuesdays or Wednesdays, getting folks to submit things on Mondays and Tuesdays is just a horrible mess. And I don't think anybody has ever wanted to do meetings on Fridays, so that would remain. That's it. And leaving the fourth week empty, because that is also the week that is most frequently impacted by the spring holidays and the winter holidays. If it's possible, it would be wonderful if you could discuss this in your committees, discuss this idea in your committees. The first Tuesday evening of the month has to remain open because that's the evening of the borough service cabinet, which is important for us to attend. And there's also the suggestion that maybe finance and personnel could have their meetings during the day. That's it. Just a request to maybe.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't catch that last suggestion. What was it?
Finance and personnel could, because you typically only meet 4 times a year, you could choose to have your meetings during the day if you wanted to. That's just an option.
Yeah.
No,
well,
not an option. Okay.
Doesn't work for everybody. So
No
you know,
problem.
I can tell you that right there. But I mean, there may be changes that we can make. We'll see.
I would just suggest that if you were going to change the overall committee monthly schedule, the ideal time to do that would be to vote on it, discuss it, hash it all out, and begin that September.
Right.
For the least
Well,
disruption.
I thought that this was one on the agenda once before about changing the meetings for different dates.
Yes.
And was that never resolved?
It was discussed. We never voted on it.
Okay.
COVID happened.
No,
I
it
thought it was
was that some of the
since
timing
COVID.
didn't work out. So the office and Lenny have been working on it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, Mr. Smith and then Mrs. Ellegringer.
Just question for the board office. If we're going to be focusing on the district needs in May, will we be getting the responses from the city agencies to last year's district needs in May?
Those have been published for almost a year. I can send them out again if you like.
That would be great. Thanks.
Okay, Mrs. Ellegringer.
Thank you. Can you send us that schedule by email?
Yeah.
The one is signed, yep.
Yeah, thank you. So let's say Would we have to now introduce that at the next general meeting, or do we have to vote on that at the executive meeting first?
I defer to you all on how to process that.
Alright.
I'm just suggesting, my only suggestion is that if you would like to make a change, and I think there are some strategic reasons to do it, the best time to do it would be September.
Well, I thought we were going to make this change over a year ago, so I certainly am in favor of making it.
Okay, well, but we still should have a discussion and a vote, you know, at some point in time afterwards. I'd like to have Mr. Singletary involved in this also. All right. So that's one of the things I just wanted to mention as far as that goes. Yeah, I mean, we talked about this once before, and for some reason, it just never went anywhere. You know, and I guess for a lot of different reasons. I'm not going to say it was just pushed to the side, but for a lot of different reasons. So we probably need to really look at it, look at the calendar, see how we can, you know, plan over the coming year as far as that goes. And actually, well, the executive committee meets. It still meets every month. Although the general board meeting, a general body doesn't meet again, I guess after May is, we don't meet again until September, correct? So
We
there
meet
could
in
be some
June.
time.
We meet in June,
We have a June meeting?
the
Okay.
general
Well,
body.
After that, we don't meet again until September. So between June and September, there could be some time for dialogue and planning and things like that. So this way we can you know, have it all ready by September. But first of all, I'd like it, you know, I'd like us to have a lot of dialogue about it. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the Finance and Personnel Committee, we're a little bit more flexible than some of the other committees that meet once a month. All right, so Mr. Flournoy.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring another topic up altogether. Okay.
Well, is
currently
it in relation to what we were just talking about, the schedule?
No, another topic.
Okay, well, let's just, so thank you so much, Taya, for bringing those two items, all right, to our attention. And certainly, and you're going to send out copies of the results from last year. Okay. Okay. All right. Any new business? So, Mr. Flournoy?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up the issue right now of downtown Brooklyn in regards to the shelters that are going to be opening up. Currently, right now, there is a lot of homeless already who are now congregating in downtown Brooklyn, and it's becoming a health issue and also a police issue. And I'm very concerned about what's going to happen once those shelters open up also. I know we had meetings about this, but this is an ongoing situation. And what I'm noticing is that policing right now is problematic. There are a lot of incidents that are currently occurring. Intimidation, a lot of intimidation, a lot of panhandling. So I just want to bring that to everyone's attention because I think it may become an issue going forward, especially in the summertime.
Ms. Freibush?
Yeah,
Or Mr. Myers next.
I had another topic, but maybe people want to respond to Mr. Flournoy, so I respect
Oh, I
that,
thought-
but I
Okay.
have a different topic.
Okay, so Mr. Meyer, did you have a comment on that?
You know, there are two shelters about to open in Borum Hill. Right, and we've been aware of this. We've been meeting with, Borum Hill has made a outreach to both of the shelters that are opening. We are working with them to try to integrate them in the community better. I agree, it's a problem. It's a problem citywide. The mayor has made it a priority of dealing with. The people who are out here do not like living in shelters because the shelters, frankly, are dangerous. So I understand that as well. The two that are opening are going to be what used to be SROs. They're going to be single room occupancy, so they won't be congregate shelters. People object to congregate shelters where, you know, it's a big room with a lot of beds. So hopefully this will work on it. We have to be supportive of this. People came out against these. We have to be supportive of getting the shelters open so that the people, I mean, I walked a little while ago and there's a homeless person right down here. I haven't done anything about it yet. I know Borum Hill has reached out to people. We're working with some of the homeless to try to get them into supportive housing. And there's no simple solution to this, unfortunately. A lot of them are mentally ill. They used to wind up going to the mental hospitals. If you know or don't know, I work in a mental hospital. So, you know, it's a difficult thing to do. I think you have to work with the community groups, and where you see people like that, reach out. There are homeless outreach groups and try to reach out to them and see if they can help. And we can't ignore, you can't ignore this problem. It's a serious, serious problem. And if I can get Howard Collins knows the resources much better than I do. If you want to reach out to Howard and talk to him about what the resources was and how he got a homeless veteran off the street completely, you should reach out to him and ask him about it.
Mr. Meyer, I appreciate that. I realize I'm not being inconsiderate. I'm just being concerned.
No,
Okay.
I'm not saying you're not. I wasn't attacking you.
No, I know
if
you're not attacking.
if I attack you, I'll let you know.
I'm
Okay.
clarifying, sir.
All right.
I'm clarifying.
But Sue, did you find out for sure that it would be SRO style, like separate rooms? Because we were
Separate
told that
rooms.
we
Yeah,
were
it's not-
told at a previous community meeting
It's
that
not-
it would be dorms.
No,
So-
I told it was not, well, dorms in the sense that they'll have their own cubicle and stuff, but not SRO. At least I may be wrong.
So we need to clarify that, because that makes a big deal in getting people off the street. If they could have a little area that's just locked off from the other people, they do feel a little safer.
Okay,
Also, Lincoln Wrestler is in the process of establishing a community advisory board for the shelters to be the conduit between the concerns of people in the community board, and the operators of the shelters and the men in the shelters. So I also suggest that people reach out to Lincoln's office if you're interested in being on that or being more involved.
okay. Thank you so much. Any other comments about that? I don't see any. So Ms. Freibush, you had something
Yeah,
else?
I have another topic. I'm going to be a little funny and say I'm going to talk dirt, which is I'm going to talk about compost and sanitation. The city council is working toward making composting mandatory. So that's a big budget issue now that's being negotiated. And I want to also share that there will be compost givebacks this weekend in Borum Hill. I believe Saturday and Sunday at the McGovern Road, at the Hopkins Center, which is the nursing home on Pacific between Hoyt and Bond. There's a parking lot. You can drive in and there will be bags. And this is helpful to gardeners and such. And it also shows people that by putting the scraps out, it's not just going into Never Never Land. It's being processed and given back to help the earth. In May, they're working on the Hillside Dog Run. I'm not sure exactly. I think it's in Brooklyn Heights. There will also be a compost give back there. The Brooklyn Swab, which is a solid waste advisory board, is in the process of organizing meetings with every community board in Brooklyn regarding sanitation issues. In other words, we want to hear what are the issues in your neighborhood. Like in everybody's neighborhood, it's rats, it's illegal dumping, it's streets aren't being cleaned enough, whatever. So they want to have a meeting with representatives from each community board to talk about it, so that as a voice, you know, we can be more powerful in presenting sanitation concerns. And some community boards have a committee that deals, you know, primarily with sanitation. We don't, it's within HES, but I think we need to have a powerful voice as well. That's it.
Thank you very much, Ms. Freibush. Okay, Ms. Barbara Gringer, and then Mr. Flanoy.
Just in response to what Betty said, I had two things. One, that I thought there was a big push on, at least in some places, to get the covered garbage cans for the streets. That would be rodent proof, and I don't know where that is, but I wanted to ask a question. Does anybody know why the mailboxes on Court Street are all locked?
Do they have the little slots? The mailboxes were changed about a year ago, and they have these
No,
tiny
no,
little
no,
slots.
no. They have big things on them. They're literally locked. You cannot use them. And I was
Oh,
just
my.
wondering if anybody knows why that's the case. Okay. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Flanoy?
Yeah, Betty, am I correct? You say mandatory?
Yes, that's what the city council is working toward.
Great.
Okay, okay, my problem is, okay, so if I'm taking my perishable trash and storing it where? In my home?
Well, I think people manage it differently, and I don't want to get into all the details, but people put them in their freezer. People figure that out. It depends. Every building is different where it could be stored. I mean, I live in a house, I have the brown bin outside, and whenever I need to, I just go from my house to my brown bin, which is outside, and it's rodent proof. So, but everybody's different. I mean, everybody doesn't live in a house. The apartment buildings have some different issues, as well does NYCHA, and that's another whole issue that the city will have to be involved with in supporting NYCHA around their recycling and composting.
And also, Betty.
I
most
feel
people-
your pain. It can
No, no,
get
no.
smelly.
No, the other issue is people don't know how to compost. They don't know that you're not supposed to put meat scraps.
You can for the city. Okay, for the city program, you can put meat scraps, fish skin, chicken bones. You can
Tea
put all of
bags.
that in. But in community gardens, if you're dropping off at a site that goes to community gardens, because they have a different processing system, it's just like the fruit and vegetable scraps.
Okay, thank you so much. Very, very enlightening. Thank you.
Come to the Wyckoff Barn Garden, and we're gonna have somebody there on Saturday who can explain everything and give out literature. Corner
Alright.
of Bond and Wyckoff.
Uh-huh. All right, thank you very much, Ms. Fibush. All right, if that's about it, is there anybody from the community that would like to speak at this meeting? I don't think so, but not sure. All right, Taya, nobody's signed up or requested to speak? No? Okay. So that's about it, folks. I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Just want to say, I hope John Dew feels better, because this is his time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I
Yeah.
heard he is feeling better. He's not in the hospital anymore. Is that correct?
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Right, he's out. Okay, so,
Okay, good. Okay.
okay. All right. So who was that? Mr. Smith and who, Ms. Fibush? Okay. I guess everybody's in agreement with that. Thank you all.
Have a nice
Very
evening,
much.
everybody.
Have a
Have a
blessed
good
night.
evening.
Evening.
Goodness.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Everyone.